Hello everybody, it's Lazel here with another Magic the Gathering EDH deck tech. Today we are looking at Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow. She is a 3 mana 1/3 legendary creature human ninja with commander ninjutsu blue and black. Let's quickly summarize how this works. So when one of your attacking creatures is not blocked, you are able to use this activated ability by paying its cost and ninjutsuing in Yuriko from your command zone or your hand, tapped and attacking. Just as normal ninjutsu, but this one also works from your command zone. Then she also says, whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's mana value. Yuriko can be played in a lot of different ways, but how I would play her is with a lot of unblockable creatures that are either ninjas or ninjutsu in a few ninjas, so we can abuse Yuriko's ability to flip some very expensive cards. For example, Temporal Trespass. 11 mana sorcery with Delve, and take an extra turn after this one, exile Temporal Trespass. Delve is a very powerful keyword in this deck because each card you exile from your graveyard while casting the spell pays for 1 generic. So we want to play cheap interaction to fill up our graveyard, and on the other hand we want to flip those cards so we can pay with our graveyard to cast these very powerful spells. Draco 16 mana 9/9, and Draco costs 2 mana less to play for each basic land type among lands you control. Flying, and at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice Draco unless you pay 10 generic. This cost is reduced by 2 for each basic land type among lands you control. Draco is a really weird card in this deck and you probably won't play it, but I think it's super cool to flip this card with Yuriko's ability and deal a total amount of 48 damage to your opponents. After that, Draco will be a dead card in your hand, but I think the idea is really cool. Temporal Mastery, 7 mana sorcery. Take an extra turn after this one, exile Temporal Mastery. You can also cast it for its miracle cost for 2 mana if it is the first card you have drawn this turn. Either you are lucky to draw it in your turn and then immediately go for an extra turn, or you flip it with Yuriko and cast it in the late game. Dig Through Time, 8 mana instant with Delve, and look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put 2 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. You also want to flip into Seagate Restoration, 7 mana sorcery, draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand plus 1. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Either you cast it or you just play the backside as your land for turn Seagate Reborn. Agadeem's Awakening, 3 black and X sorcery. Return from your graveyard to the battlefield any number of target creature cards that each have a different converted mana cost X or less. Same as with Seagate Restoration, it also has a backside, Agadeem the Undercrypt. Let's make sure that we can use this commander ninjutsu ability and our other ninjutsu abilities. Ornithopter, 0 mana 0/2 flying. Changeling Outcast, 1 mana 1/1 and Changeling, so he is also a ninja, and Changeling Outcast can't block and can't be blocked. Baleful Strix, 2 mana 1/1 flying Death Touch. When Baleful Strix enters the battlefield, draw a card. She enters, she draws you a card, and your opponents most likely won't block her with their flying creatures. Mist-Cloaked Herald, a 1 mana 1/1, and Mist-Cloaked Herald can't be blocked. Ingenious Prodigy is a really cool card in my opinion. For 1 blue and X you get a 0/1 with Skulk. This creature can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. An Ingenious Prodigy enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Ingenious Prodigy has 1 or more +1/+1 counters on it, you may remove a +1/+1 counter from it. If you do, draw a card. You can cast it with a +1/+1 counter on it, draw a card in your upkeep, and then if it has a power of 0, it can't be blocked because creatures will most likely have a greater power. Sliverblade, a 1 mana 1/2, Sliverblade can't be blocked. Let's bring in more ninjas. For example, Fallen Shinobi, 5 mana 5/4 and ninjutsu for 4. Whenever Fallen Shinobi deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top 2 cards of the library. Until end of turn, you may play those cards without paying their mana costs. This also counts for lands. Ingenious Infiltrator, 4 mana 2/3 and ninjutsu for 2. Whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Throat Slitter, 5 mana 2/2 and ninjutsu for 3. Whenever Throat Slitter deals combat damage to a player, destroy target non-black creature that player controls. Higuro the Still Wind, 5 mana 3/4 and ninjutsu for 4. Whenever Higuro the Still Wind deals combat damage to a player, you may search a library for a ninja card, reveal it and put it into your hand. If you do, shuffle your library. For 2 mana, target ninja creature can't be blocked this turn. Ink Eyes, Servant of Oni, 6 mana 5/4 ninjutsu for 5. Whenever Ink Eyes, Servant of Oni, deals combat damage to a player, You may put target creature card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, and for 2 mana you can regenerate Ink Eyes. Moonblade Shinobi, 4 mana 3/2 with ninjutsu for free. Whenever Moonblade Shinobi deals combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 blue illusion creature token with flying. Let's go over more helpful interaction that can also deal a bunch of damage if we flip it with Yuriko. Curtain's Call, 6 mana instant with Undaunted. This spell costs 1 generic less to cast for each opponent and you destroy 2 target creatures. Far Away, in total a 5 mana value card, and on one side return target creature to its owner's hand, and Away says target player sacrifices a creature. Discovery Dispersal. Discovery for 2 mana, Surveil 2, then draw a card. Dispersal for 5 mana an instant, each opponent returns a non-land permanent they control with the highest converted mana cost among permanents they control to its owner's hand, then discard a card. Consign to Oblivion. Consign, 2 mana instant, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Oblivion, 5 mana sorcery with Aftermath, and target opponent discards 2 cards. Murderous Cut, 5 mana instant with Delve, destroy target creature. Commit to Memory. Commit is a 4 mana instant, put target spell or non-land permanent into its owner's library second from the top. In Memory, for 6 mana with Aftermath, each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards. You want to win more? You get it. Yuriko is all about flipping expensive cards from the top of your library. So let's manipulate the top of our library. For example with Sensei's Divining Top, a 1 mana artifact, and for 1 mana, look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put them back in any order. You can also tap it to draw a card and then put Sensei's Divining Top on top of its owner's library. Scroll Rake, 2 mana artifact. For 1 mana and tap, exile any number of cards from your hand face down. Put that many cards from the top of your library into your hand. Then look at the exiled cards and put them on top of your library in any order. And last but not least, Bolas' Citadel, 6 mana legendary artifact. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play the top card of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its converted mana cost rather than pay its mana costs. You can also tap it to sacrifice 10 non-land permanents, so each opponent loses 10 life. This can be great because we play a lot of small evasive creatures which we can easily sacrifice to Bolas' Citadel to close out the game. Alright guys, these were a few ideas of mine of which cards I would play in Yuriko, the Tiger's Shadow. Let me know down in the comments below which cards you would add to the deck, which legendary creature I should feature next, and then I would say see you in the next one. Goodbye guys.